Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the minds of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Monday, January 13th. Los Angeles again reeling from the fires and starting to hopefully head towards some of that recovery as the fires are still burning. We're going to talk in just a couple minutes to LA Galaxy President of Business Operations Tom Braun to talk about the reaction from the local sports teams, particularly the LA Galaxy. Maybe we'll also have some other questions for him in there, as well as the LA Galaxy get ready to put out and start for their 2025 season. So we'll get to talk to Tom here in just a little bit. We're also going to talk about some new news in terms of a new market opening up for teams, whether they're actually allowed to trade real cash for players internally in the league. So we'll talk about that. And then any transfer rumors that pop up as well. To help me do that, glad to have him back. It's Kevin the Panda Baxter. Kev, how you doing?
All right, I'm a fire reporter now, by the way.
Don't
know about the soccer stuff.
Sometimes I wonder if they're just like, like if he got consumed in the fire, who are we okay losing? And they were like, let's have Kevin go out there,
Yeah, it's like when they start the backup quarterback, in the last game of the season when the playoff berth is clinched. It's basically saying if you get hurt, we really don't care.
Yeah.
So. Actually, I went out last week. I went out to the Pasadena Convention Center, which has turned into a shelter, and it was really kind. And then I went to a couple other places. I went to the Humane Society out there. I went to a homeless shelter. It was actually really cool to see the number of people that just showed up. I spoke to a couple of women from Glendora who just went around their neighborhood, collected money, went to the supermarket, bought food and drinks, and made food, and drove out there and just handed it out. And there were a couple of guys from a Mexican restaurant in East LA. They came out with 100 burritos and tortas and just anybody that wanted one, no questions asked, and the number of volunteers at the Humane Society, they had to turn people away. They were getting so much stuff. Somebody came to one site in Pasadena, dropped off a bunch of stuff, including the couch.
Right.
And the woman from the city of Pasadena said, come on, you guys don't come here and clean out your garage.
Right.
But there were also people that just showed up and said, I don't have anything to give. I just want to give somebody a hug.
Yes.
I don't have anything. And they were bringing their dogs as comfort dogs. Today, I went into the Palisades, which is, I've been there before. Beautiful.
I was going to say, you weren't just in the Palisades. You were behind the barricades of the Palisades, right?
I got through the police barricades and I get the looting thing. Anyone who thinks that they're overreacting, I totally get it. There were National Guard people everywhere. They caught a looter the other day dressed as a fireman. The streets are vacant. There's nobody back there. And the capriciousness of the fire, the neighborhood I was at, there were 2 homes that were unscathed. They had fruit on the trees. They weren't touched. Across the street from them was a cul-de-sac. Across the street, the entire block was gone. I mean, just chimneys and the skeletons of cars. The capriciousness of this is amazing. And that's why, a looter will come up there and see 5 or 6 homes burnt out, and there's a couple that look pretty good, and they can just walk in the front door, basically. I mean, a lot of people took off and didn't lock their doors and stuff like that. But it's everything that you've seen on TV and in pictures, only way worse when you see it in person.
Ugh.
It's mind-boggling. This is going to leave a scar for a long. I've been through earthquakes and stuff and hurricanes in Miami. It's never seen anything like this. This is going to leave a scar for a long, long, long time.
Well, and I think, I think you pointed this out, or maybe you and I talked about it, but there are people whose houses are okay, but they can't go back there yet. They still have to stay outside of the evacuation zones, right? So,
Right. And the reason for that is, again, the looting. And, as one official said today in a press conference, there's a special place in hell reserved for these people that go and loot these homes. And so what happens is, if it's a pretty big area, the Palisades. And so if you want to go up and see your house, you just can't drive up there. You can't show the ID and drive up there. You need to have a police escort. And the police have set this thing up, and everyone said, okay, that's great. That's a good idea. And then the police turned around and said, however, because fires are still burning, we don't have enough people to be escorts.
right.
And I think they let some people back on Thursday. People are resorting to looking at satellite photos. They're trying to send friends up to, and you can't get in, to take pictures. I guess it's the waiting is the hardest part, because you can't make plans. Do I rebuild? I don't know. Maybe my house is still there. Do I need to do flood damage? Who knows what these houses look like.
Oh, it's still pretty crazy. What we had today was an announcement, basically by 12 of the local SoCal teams.
All 12 pro teams.
All 12 pro teams coming out. The announcement was basically that the LA Galaxy were part of this. The LA Galaxy have united with the 11 local professional sports franchises to pledge a combined donation of more than $8 million to help those impacted by the recent wildfires in Los Angeles. AEG's part of that, from both the Kings and the Galaxy and all that, was $1 million. And so they're donating to those causes. I mean, we've already seen some of these donations coming in from very wealthy, famous people. It's good to see that the Galaxy are in on that. It's good to see that you're seeing the other sports teams around. I have a feeling this will not be the last that you're seeing in terms of donations and things that are coming from the sports teams that are around Los Angeles. So it's pretty heavy, Kevin, especially if you go up in the Altadena and the Eaton fire and all that stuff. I mean, we talked about it on Thursday night, certainly, that we had a member of the LA Galaxy family who had lost their house in Altadena, completely gone. And so we put together, or they put together a GoFundMe that had been doing really well from what I saw. So, good job for everybody's support and everything's going like that. But this seems like it's endless here, Kevin. It doesn't seem like this is going to be short.
Well, and the winds are kicking up again. We're in Santa Clarita, which luckily untouched by fire up to now, but the winds are really high. Our car is packed. We got all our documents together. Everything's ready to go. By the way, they keep calling it wildfires. Again, I was in the Palisades today. I know what wildfire, at least it connects to me. It's in the forest. This was an urban landscape. This was like concrete streets and sidewalks and schools and buildings. This wasn't like a forest fire that burned down someone's log cabin. That's why I keep saying it. It's like unlike anything I'd ever seen. I've seen forest fires. This was not a forest fire. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, I mean it's a wildfire. That's what it is. I mean, and you can argue about where that location hits, but in this particular case, it's a blowtorch. Certainly with the winds and everything that were coming along, and you've seen them. I mean, even down here in Orange County, we had a little flare up of a small fire that sort of put. But anything that pops up now, anything that comes up is the possibility of more damage and everything else that is going on. So,
and by the way, can we wait till the fires are out and the dead people are buried before we start blaming people? I mean,
no,
geez,
come on. No, that's never going to happen. It's a nice, wonderful thought. The good news is, and I say this with all sincerity, and I've seen it on social media and everything else that is sort of coming out, is that the people who are affected here, the ones that are close knit in community, are helping each other out, and I think you're going to continue to see that for a while here as everything goes by. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that certainly we could talk about, and everything else that we need to do, and certainly we'll eventually get to the to the part where we talk about the LA Galaxy and everything else going on. But to help us talk about the LA Galaxy's response to the wildfires, we're glad to have him back on the show. It's the LA Galaxy's president of business operations. It's Mr. Tom Braun. Tom, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we're glad to have you on. We were trying to connect with you and hopefully find out more about the response. Just wanted to check in on you, your family, everybody. Okay.
We're doing okay. We're fortunate, and really thinking about others that have been impacted. So, first and foremost, what I'd like to say is just that our hearts really ache for the city and those in Southern California affected by the wildfires. We're so grateful for the first responders and the people who work tirelessly to protect our communities. So, I think the LA Galaxy, wins and losses aside, the LA Galaxy are simply stewards of a really passionate and loyal community, and I'm so deeply proud to be a resource and a hub for that community to come together to grieve and to support one each other.
Yeah, you guys have been having a donation drive up at the stadium. Started today, goes till tomorrow as well. Times on that 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day. So that happened today. What'd you see from the response of the community?
Oh, the response was incredible. The supply drive started today, like you said. I reached out and asked our community team, and we've had over 3,000 items donated today alone. It's happening again tomorrow. So any unused items can be dropped off at Legends Plaza from 9 a.m. to 4. Free parking, lot 15. You show up, you drive down driveway A, you pull right into lot 15, which is the lot right next to Legends Plaza. Our team's there. We'll help you unpack your car. We'll load it up, and we'll get you on your way.
It seems like a great deal. I saw some social media coming from people who had dropped off. Everybody said the response is great. But Tom, also the LA Galaxy announced, along with AEG and the LA Kings, and then the 11 other major sports teams, or I guess I should say 10 other whenever we include you and the Kings. So 12 total teams in Southern California. The AEG side of that, I think up to or over $1 million, $8 million total pledge. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, when we were maybe taking a step back, when we were thinking about how we could really support these efforts, there's three main categories that we thought we could be effective and really add value. One was financial support. The second one was a supply drive. And then the third one was really localized community service. So on the financial support, really proud. The sports teams came together, 12 of us, donated over $8 million. To support those who are impacted. Us, the Kings, and AEG contributed $1 million to the pledge, supporting the Red Cross, the LAFD Foundation, Cal Fire Foundation, and so much more. And on top of that, the 12 teams have also joined forces with Fanatics to distribute over $3 million worth of Fanatics merchandise to Angelenos who have been evacuated from their homes. So you think about it, $3 million, this is over 50,000 units of Fanatics merchandise that will also be supplemented by LA Galaxy gear that will be distributing to those in the community. So that's really special for us. And then on top of that, many, I think, listeners and Galaxy fans have seen, we've partnered with Fanatics also to produce a T-shirt, an LA Strong T-shirt, where 100% of the proceeds are going to the LAFD Foundation and American Red Cross. And I got an update earlier today, and the sales on those shirts are so strong. Our fans are really showing up and really making an impact. I checked in with Nelson and our team earlier. We should have those shirts in our stores next week, but just make sure you stay close to the social channels. So if you want to wait and get it in person, we should have it in our team store next week.
You guys,
so that's on the. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
No.
I was
So
going to
go
say,
ahead. Tom,
we talked a little bit about the supply drive. There's a lot more that's coming out in the next couple of weeks too on things that we're doing. I think everything we're doing is we're assessing and we're evaluating, and we're trying to do it all in real time. So there's a list on lagalaxy.com/LA Fire Relief that can tell you what exactly it is that we're looking to get donated. Right now, things like water, hygiene products, which includes like travel size shampoo, soaps, toothpaste, toothbrushes, blankets, winter gloves, baby essentials, kids supplies like writing paper and coloring pads and crayons, pet food, non-perishable food, and safety and first aid items are all things we're looking for people to donate. And like I said, all this is kind of happening in real time. So that list is going to continue to update. And as we hear from the places that we're working with, what is in need and what's not in need, we'll continue to evaluate and update that list. But there's going to be more coming out too. We've had so many conversations. The inbound support from the league and from our partners has just been so incredible that everybody's looking to support in one way or another. And so you'll see more coming out from us, I think, in the coming days and weeks on other ways that you can get back and donate.
Yeah,
So
I've
go
actually,
ahead.
this is Kevin. I've actually been pretty impressed about the way that this list and the things that you asked for. It's kind of a living, breathing document. I mean, you have updated, you have changed, you've seen, we really don't need this anymore. We need more of this. And people who want to participate should really take a look at that because it does change. I was curious whether whether any of the players, I know most of the players are not in town, whether players will be involved, whether maybe there'd be an auction with autographed jerseys or anything of that kind. And have you had a chance to think, I know it's only been a week, had a chance to think maybe whether there might be a commemorative patch of some sort that might go on the jerseys this season?
Yeah, so I haven't heard about a patch. It's something we can explore. But give you an example, John McCarthy, myself, and some Galaxy staff members on Friday went to Fire Station 116. And for anybody who tailgates at Galaxy games, it's the firehouse. I think it's across the street from Lot 11.
Right.
We went over there. We probably spent about 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours with those guys. We brought them breakfast, checked in with them. See how we could support what they were doing. They were in pretty good spirits given the circumstances, but even in a moment to bring a little bit of relief and bring some food, it was nice.
Yeah,
I have to say that sounds a lot like something that John McCarthy would do.
Absolutely, he raised his hand. He was eager to do it too. So, but as I was saying at the beginning, I'm just so immensely proud of the way this club is showing up for the community. Our fans are donating items. I'm seeing GoFundMe accounts getting set up for one another, just coming together as a community. I'm immensely proud of the Galaxy staff. They're volunteering to collect, sort, and distribute these supplies, and there's just the broader LA sports community coming together, because in the end, this is really what sports is about, right? This is what sports teams are about. You can talk about wins and losses, but in the end, we're simply fighting for each other and fighting for our fans, and making sure that we're really good stewards of what our fans and our community want.
Something just hit me as you're talking about that. You're going to be in Coachella in a month, and as we mentioned before we had you on, that the scars of this event are going to last a long time. Certainly people will not have forgotten by the time they get to Coachella. And I'm thinking, there'll be other teams coming in that are outside Southern California that, maybe they and their fans haven't had a chance to interact with us. Maybe they'd want to. Do you expect, maybe just pass a bucket around during games at Coachella? Do you think anything like that might happen? Or is there a sense that maybe after a certain amount of time, it go back to normal, or not, will never be normal, but you know what I mean? How long will this kind of stuff be going on?
Yeah, it's hard to think about what normal could look like right now, given where we're at. But the inbound support that I've gotten from other, and our clubs have gotten from other MLS clubs, I think I've heard from almost every single MLS team just reaching out, asking how they could support, proactively looking for ways to support our efforts. I think they're seeing on the news what type of horrific things that our community is going through, and I think they might even get a better sense of how bad things really are once they get to Coachella, or they get to Southern California. But I think ideas like passing around a bucket and making a collection is really something we can consider.
Yeah, it seems like all this seems like it's rapidly approaching here, Tom. Whenever you talk about Coachella, start of the season, all this stuff, it feels like, one, soccer's not very important sometimes, and I think it's nice to have an appreciation of what's really important. But two is, despite what is happening all around you, you guys are still preparing for a season. I know that renovations are going on in the stadium and all that stuff. So, I mean, it seems like you got a whole bunch of workload put on you, and obviously I don't think you guys are shying away from it, but it feels like everything around the stadium and all these surrounding areas, there's not any normalcy there, and you guys still have to put a season on.
Yeah, I think we're maybe around 40 days until season kicks off on February 23rd, and even less than that when the team reports back this weekend. Quickly after that, they go to Coachella. Our team fully operates and executes Coachella. San Diego on the 23rd. We're looking to, quote unquote, raise a banner, so to speak, at that game, and then we're off and running. The season's back on. So there's no time to waste. But our group is really working hard, right? We're not only working to serve the community. I know Will and Greg and Gordon and that whole team are working really hard to make sure that we have a championship caliber team on the field that's going to be really competitive. So I think our fans should be really excited about this season. So much to offer coming up. So a lot ahead of us, but we are not sleeping. We're working very hard to make sure that we can follow up on what was one of the greatest seasons in MLS history last year.
Yeah, I think I saw a little bit of video coming out of the stadium here in the last couple of days just on renovations. How's that project going for you guys?
It's great. I think when fans come back for that first game, we'll have them all done. And I know we'll have them all done. And I think fans will just be blown away by the impact from the new seats to the new restrooms to the new concession stand facades to some new premium spaces, new field side seating. The impact across the board for every fan, from the general fan to the premium buyer. I think everyone's going to, feel the impact these renovations are going to have. So what better time than now to roll this out, coming off of the championship season and having a little bit of a facelift on the stadium. It's a great time.
Speaking of the championship season, it just occurred to me that with these renovations, this is the longest season the Galaxy have had in 7 or 8 years. How did that work? Did you plan to start the renovations in mid-December anyways? And that's when the stadium became available, or did you have to delay everything because, you made a much longer playoff run than you've made in a while?
So we actually, when we finally decided to move forward with the renovations, we knew we had to plan for the shortest case scenario. So all along, credit to Katie Pandolfo and Adam Duvendeck. Adam's maybe a name you haven't heard that often, but he's our assistant general manager. They planned for this. We planned all along that we would make MLS Cup, and the second that we make it and win it, the day after, field was coming up, bleachers and seats were coming out, and it was go. There was not a lot of the holiday break for our crew, but I think everyone's going to be really happy and pleased when you come back in. And on top of that, we did a little refresh to the press box, so we got to keep you guys happy up there.
Oh wow! I mean, Christmas has come early. It's always nice to hear that. Just to remind everybody that the LA Fires donation drive is still going on tomorrow, 9 a.m., 4 p.m. That's on Tuesday, and I'm sure Tom, you will certainly keep us updated on any changes or any additions or anything that you guys are going to do in the future here. And we're always up for a good conversation. Is there anything else you want to share with everybody before you go?
Yeah, just again, really thankful of the community, of the club, of you guys, Josh and Kevin, for all the work that you guys are doing to help bring attention to this and to the community. So really gracious, really thankful, and really excited to get the season going. So and really excited to have you guys back out at Coachella doing a live pod.
See, there we go. Kevin was asking me if I had solidified anything yet, and I said I've been slacking. I hadn't sent out an email, but I was pretty sure you guys still wanted us out there. So we will work on that. I will send off an email tomorrow. All right.
Let's do it.
All right, sounds good. All right, that's all the time we have, Tom. We certainly appreciate you stopping by. And again, if you need anything to share with us, you let us know. We are right here for you. So please go and go get some more of those donations. I know the LA Galaxy family is out there working hard to make sure that tomorrow is as successful as today was. So thanks again for stopping by.
Great, thanks guys. Be well.
All right, you too. There we go, Mr. Tom Braun.
You know what was amazing about that?
What?
When he was talking, I never saw his mouth move. And then that picture, he's like, it's sunny out there. And where I am, it's dark. How'd you guys do that?
He's very good. He's a ventriloquist. He's excellent on it. But no, this is all of the stuff that the LA Galaxy are doing. And listen, he mentioned Nelson in there, and I know Nelson is a staple of our Discord and working hard to always find out what people need and where we go. Tom mentioned basically all the fire donation stuff that's going on. The 50,000 units that's being donated from Fanatics is a large chunk of what they have there, and then the LA Strong shirts that go with all the different sports teams. So you could have a Kings one, you could have an LA Galaxy one, you could have a Lakers one, you could have a Anaheim Ducks one if you want that. But it's good to see everybody sort of coming together here as we go. I talking to you today, Kevin, was more of a whenever I came home, I told my wife, I go, guess where Kevin was? And she said in jail. And I said, no, but probably, that.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
I know, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He wouldn't be calling me because I'm not going to bail him out. No, I told him, I told her where you were. And she's like, well, what did he say? And I said, from just you telling me, and I think you had just left there whenever you had called me and we were sort of talking a little bit, that type of thing. I could tell in your voice that this is unlike things that you have witnessed, and this is unlike things. And you said no matter how bad it looks on TV, it's way worse whenever you get there. And that just sort of throws into stark reality everything that is going on around Los Angeles right now.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that it went on forever and ever and ever was one thing. I mean, you felt like, oh, I'm going to turn around. When I turn this corner, it'll be normal again, and it just never was.
No.
And again, the capriciousness. I've talked to people that had homes in neighborhoods, and they know that their home is okay, but their neighbors isn't. That kind of stuff. The Presbyterian Church of the Palisades is a beautiful church. All that's left now is a big pillar across the street from it. So the church is gone. The church is gone. There's a pillar across the street. There's a Gelson's that hasn't been touched, and it's just like, how does that happen? And the one neighborhood that I was in today, I don't know if I said this, but 2 houses at the end of the cul-de-sac were untouched. There's fruit on the trees, and down that side of the cul-de-sac, everything was fine. Right across the street from them, there was nothing. It's just the way the wind blows.
Chance, everything left up to chance and everything else that's going on. Well, let's go focus in a little bit on what little LA Galaxy news we have, but there are some things that we want to touch on. Again, thanks to Tom Braun for stopping by. Nice update on the stadium renovations. I didn't know we were getting updated press box, so I am...
Well, and that's unusual because, the press box was redone completely when the Chargers came in.
Yeah.
The NFL made them do that, and it got better. I wouldn't say it was a best press box in MLS, but it got better.
Yeah.
And I wonder what they did. It didn't seem like they had a lot of room to do stuff.
No, I don't. I have no idea. Now I'm excited. See, that type of thing. But I know that the stadium's going to look a little different. If you saw any of the videos and pictures, it's a full-on construction site at the stadium right now. There is no grass on the field. It's all dirt. They've been tearing things up. The new field side seating is going in. I saw them pouring concrete for that. So they're sort of getting in there. We've seen sort of the updates of the seats and all the blue seats that are going to be there. I have the feeling the stadium's going to feel different whenever you get there, for the start of the season. So interested to see how that all goes too.
You know what's weird is this Dignity Health Sports Park is the second oldest. It was the second, making it the second oldest soccer specific stadium in the U.S. The historic Crew Stadium was the first, and that's gone now. There's a new stadium there. The lifespan of stadiums, it's only been 20 years since Dignity Health Sports Park opened, and it was state of the art. And as I said, modern, second one only ever in the U.S. Now it's the second oldest, and it's being redone. I think this is just going to bring it sort of up to standards for the rest of the league. But man, it looks great for 20 years, and I'm sure it's going to look better and even more modern when they finish these renovations.
Every once in a while I see old pictures of like the old Jumbotron, and it was this little tiny thing, and now it's this giant screen and one of the biggest in Major League Soccer at some time. By the way, Antonio asked, hey guys, what is the best press box in Major League Soccer? Who has the best press box? I haven't been to that many, so I don't know that I can fully jump in on this. I will say that I really, really love San Jose Stadium. And I always have. And one of the reasons that it is one, it's easy to get in and out of. And two is that everything's very steep. So the press box itself kind of hovers almost over the field. It feels like you're almost like a helicopter over the field, and you're right at basically midfield there. And then I like it because you get to watch airplanes land and soccer at the same time. So that's a plus for me.
I do like that. The press box actually sucks. It's really small.
Yes.
But I do like the plane thing because most games I've seen there have been really boring, and you watch planes. Red Bull Arena, I've been there once, and it wasn't for an MLS game. It was for I'm actually been there a couple of times for U.S. national team games. The press seating is very, very close to the field, but my recollection, it was exposed outdoors, so that can be a problem depending on weather.
Right.
Seattle, they use the football press box.
I don't like it. It's like the Rose Bowl because there's glass, and it's like you're separated from the game.
That's true, but there's a Starbucks in there with free Starbucks coffee, and there's a barista making it, so that's pretty cool.
If we're talking about amenities, I'll go Dodger Stadium. Whenever the Galaxy played there, I got to go into the press box and sit in the press box in Dodger Stadium, and the real positive there is that they had fresh cookies, fresh chocolate chip cookies they made that you could then put in with the ice cream machine. They had a soft serve vanilla ice cream, and then you put the chocolate chip cookies in that and eat that. So that would be a plus. I am also, if you want to make any press box better, just make popcorn. When's the popcorn coming, Kevin? That's all. That's really all I need.
I think that all of the NFL stadiums that New England, you mentioned Seattle. There's problems with those
Atlanta.
Because they're huge and they are glass enclosed. That's true. But then you go to a place like Minnesota, and you want that glass because it's really cold.
Right.
So I I think Columbus is pretty good.
The new Columbus one,
Cincinnati,
yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, Cincinnati's not bad. Some of the newer ones. That's I'd like to see Miami. I understand Miami's probably pretty nice.
Well, we'll see. It probably will be whenever they actually build their stadium. Right now, it's in that temporary stadium that they have. That's that type of thing. So no, I don't know that I have a good answer for that. I have not been to enough. But Antonio goes, free Starbucks. Wow, I'm sold. I mean, it's not bad. If there's a Starbucks in there, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? So
yeah.
But no, I've been up there. I've been to Stanford Stadium, which is very much like the Rose Bowl. Again, Rose Bowl or Seattle glass. And so you have that sort of separation. Let's see, I'm trying to think what other ones I've been to. Not that many. To be sorry. LAFC has their press boxes in the corner. And so you don't get the view from the sideline. And I think that's sort of vital to telling the story of soccer. So obviously that is yeah.
I was going to say, you talk about the closed-in press box, the football ones, and people say, well, I can see how that would be good. You don't get the weather, but you don't hear anything.
No.
I was covering a Mexico game in Glendale, Arizona, where the Rams are playing tonight, in fact, football stadium. It's enclosed. You can't hear the crowd noise. You can't hear the announcements. And there was a player who got a red card, and it kind of, my head was down, and I was typing, on deadline, didn't see the red card. Couple of goals, and people are talking about, they took advantage of the man advantage to score those goals, and I'm like, what happened? I had no idea, because you can't hear the announcements.
You can't. No, it definitely is one of those things. Let's get to some of the big news across the league, which is Tom Bogert announcing that MLS has officially passed the new cash-based internal trade system, which will go into effect immediately per sources. MLS is calling it the cash for players trades. Clubs can acquire 2 per season and sell 2 per season. Clubs can still make trades with general allocation money and all that fun stuff. Basically, it is, let's say somebody wanted to come buy Gabriel Peck from inside the league. Well, before it had to be like general allocation money, and how do you make the cash work for that? And I think at the upper levels, especially with designated players, there's not enough general allocation money in the system to sort of make that work, right? So if you wanted to, you could go off and pay $30 million for Gabriel Peck now. Arthur Blank over in Atlanta could just go write that check, and then it would write it to the LA Galaxy, and then that player would get traded within the system for just cash, just money, no general allocation money, no targeted allocation money.
And the Galaxy gets to keep that money, because like with transfers, a lot of the money goes to the league office, doesn't all stay with the Galaxy. So if Arthur Blank writes that check, then the Galaxy get to deposit a full $30 million in their bank account, or does someone take a cut?
I don't know. And that's sort of what we have. We don't know the details. Like, we don't know the details of how they're going to count that, right? Like, do you have to count the transfer fee basically that you're paying for the internal trade as part of the salary? And therefore, does that go against designated players and U22s and all the other stuff, right? So, we're waiting on those details, but apparently that will be announced, and they, excuse me, and they will put that out.
Well, you and I were talking before the show, and you rightly said that I sound like one of those guys saying, "You kids get off my lawn," and I do. I'm old. I own it. But what I don't like about a lot of the MLS rules is it just seems it's not arbitrary. It's almost like it was too mandated. Okay, you can make trades, but only 2 per season, only 2 per club. And then you can, but if you don't want to do the cash, you can use allocation money, but it's got to be general allocation money, or maybe on this trade, it's targeted allocation money. And then what happens to the transfer fee? It just seems way too opaque and way too complicated. And you had mentioned that we didn't go through this procedure with other leagues, because by the time we were born, even someone as old as me, most of the rules were set and they haven't changed a lot. And MLS is still trying to push this parity thing, which we've seen what that does to the Galaxy, trying to keep their championship team together. They can't because of the salary rules. But I just think it gets to be too complicated, and it doesn't allow the fans to play along, to say, Will Kuntz, you missed this opportunity, because Will Kuntz is playing with the rules over here, and we don't know what they are.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is, one, this is supposed to be transparent, so the amount of money that is paid is supposed to be announced in transfers and all that stuff. So you're going to get an idea of what that is. I think this just sort of makes it, again, it's taking the handcuffs off a little bit. It's allowing the league to be a little more competitive intra-league, and it allows deals. Taylor Twellman tweeted out that there are some blockbuster deals that could happen because of this. I mean, you're talking about some really big things. Evander at Portland was named, I think, by Tom as one of the people who might be looking at something like that. So somebody's interested in him in the league, and they're now able to pay cash for that. and put that out. So we'll watch and sort of see how this plays out. I did reach out to some of the people that I know to try to find out, hey, is this going to help? Is this going to hurt? Is this coming too far into the season? Like, how's this whole thing going to happen? And so we'll try to find out as those things happen. But, as of right now, I think everybody's going to have to adjust to this. This is active as of like now. You were talking about they're going to make an announcement possibly tomorrow and the next, coming days that this is happening, and it's just going to go. So there's no adjustment period. There's no like next transfer window, we're going to do this. No, it is active as of right now. So if you already made deals, already made moves, this could hurt.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you. So what do you think about that? Because people might have made different decisions on who to tender contracts to. All that stuff might have made different decisions 2 or 3 weeks ago if they know that there was another outlet where they could have used that player. Hey, we don't want this guy anymore. We don't need him. We're going to re-up him because we're going to sell him and make some money off him. Now they don't have that opportunity.
I mean, it's like anything. I think MLS is trying to be reactive to what the teams want, and they want to be quick. That being said, you could have done this, knew this was something that had been discussed now for the last couple transfer windows, and you're sort of wondering when it was going to take and how it was going to do it. And so the competition committee has to go ahead and approve this, and then you have to get the buy-in from the MLS Players Association. So the union has to sort of be like, yeah, we're okay with this as well, which I think that they would, they're not going to have any problems with it, because it allows more freedom of movement and it allows more cash and different things that are sort of going around.
And it's only during the transfer window they can do this?
I would imagine that they are bound by the transfer windows for this. I don't know that you could do it outside the transfer windows, but I don't know that. It's a good question because I'm trying to remember.
If it's internal in the league, I would see that they might be able to do that. And I would actually like that because let's say between transfer windows, the Galaxy lose both outside backs, injuries, and they got to wait till the transfer window to do anything. They don't have anybody. They don't have anyone Galaxy 2. Now they can go out and buy a player.
Right.
They can go out and get somebody. And the other thing I like about it is we've seen instances in MLS where a player is simply not going to play on a team because the guy in front of him is that good and
right.
He's healthy, he plays all the time, and the guy's not good enough to go to Europe or to go to South America. So that player is a resource to the team. He's an asset to the team, but the team can't sell him,
right.
And they can't play him because the player in front of them is better. And this particular player, his career is being whittled away and he's not getting to play. This gives an outlet for them to say, look, we can't send you to Manchester City, but we can send you to Portland and they're going to buy you and they need a player of you and you'll get a chance to play. I mean, if that kind of part of it plays out, I think that'd be a really good thing for everybody.
I think you're still going to find that there's going to be restrictions on when this could happen, but we will find out more details on that. It's just interesting. Now, Will Kuntz has another arrow in his quiver, right? One, he could sell players internally. You wonder what would happen with Jalen Neal if that would have been different. Would somebody just go and pay just straight up cash for him instead of doing, a general allocation money? You can always go sort of back and forth on all those and, and see how that goes. And I think for a lot of players, it's still going to be the standard route. Again, you get to buy 2 and sell 2. Each team is able to do that. So that's something that's going on. So that's something we're going to watch, especially as it gets announced this week, and we can sort of follow that. Now, the other thing that we have is that we are still tracking Lucas Sanabria. Alex Ruiz saying that the Uruguayan did not play for Nacional in today's match against San Lorenzo. That could be a marker that things are getting close. And by all reports coming out of the sides there, it seems like perhaps that Nacional is ready to move him and ready to go, and that the LA Galaxy are interested, and then this is all going to come down. And we've sort of been hinting that this was the one that looked like it was furthest along from getting done. So this one still sort of sticks there. So that's one.
Well,
yes.
Well, here's another thing about the Sanabria trade. That the fact that he didn't play today is very interesting. I know people were trying to reach Will Kuntz today, and he wasn't responding. And the first thought was he may be traveling. I wonder where he might be going.
You never know. You reach out sometimes, you say hi, and sometimes, and by the way, rightfully so, just ignore me. I mean, you got better things to do in your life than talk to me, right? I mean, I imagine that whenever you text me sometimes and I don't respond back to you. So it's like, it's one of those things where you sit there. So who knows? It's certainly speculation. Whether or not that means anything, who knows? But if you want to try to connect dots, you can always connect dots. It's just sometimes the picture you make after you connect those dots isn't the right one. So we'll keep a look on that. There was another rumor that popped out today about Joao Grimaldo a Peruvian 21-year-old left winger who is currently playing in Serbia, and perhaps the LA Galaxy interested in him, trying to track that down. This will be a loan deal. This is a guy who is, you're going to have to say is up and comer here, Kevin, and certainly not somebody who is showing all of the trappings of a superstar. But when the LA Galaxy are looking at backups and looking at places they could do it, again, as a 21-year-old, would fit under a U22, possibly a loan deal is what the report is. We'll see if any of that holds any sort of real solid information. We have to go and track these things down and sort of figure out where they go. But this is something that's out there right now and that people are watching. We've already talked about Zonka, who is another one that the LA Galaxy are interested in. I believe he didn't suit up for his match as well. And so as we're watching these things sort of come down, and I think he was playing for Anderlecht, as we're watching these things come down, these signs are pointing to the fact the LA Galaxy are probably closing in, and it is about that time, Kevin, where we do expect the LA Galaxy to start closing some deals and getting people in. Tom Braun telling us that players reporting this weekend to the LA Galaxy. So
that's insane.
Isn't that nuts?
That's just crazy. Yeah.
I was like, dude, weren't we just there? I mean, when you think about it, December 7th is when the LA Galaxy won the MLS Cup. It is basically 5 weeks, a little less than that, or maybe a little more than that, since that happened, since that game was played, since all that stuff happened. 5 weeks. And remember, the Galaxy had 3 weeks off in the middle of the playoffs that they had, so only 2 weeks longer is basically, and they could still be, maybe the Galaxy have another game they're supposed to play. I have no idea. Maybe after you win an MLS Cup, you have to play one more,
And I think that's one of the issues. We talk about parity and all the hoops that Will Kuntz is having to jump through to try to keep most of the roster together because of the salary cap issues and MLS's drive for parity. But this has got to be as big a reason as any why teams don't repeat in MLS. If you did not make the playoffs, your season was over in October.
Right.
You've been off a couple of months. You had a nice holiday. You got to go on a cruise. You got to do all these things. Galaxy got what? 5 weeks off at the most.
I don't know that you can complain about that though, as a fact. You won an MLS Cup. It just is it is one of those things.
No, but you look at someone like Amaya Yoshida, who we don't know if he's coming back, but he played every minute, and he's coming, and he, at 34, whatever he was, and he's got to come back in 5 weeks and play another 9 months. That's got to be really tough, and even for the younger guys, it's got to be really tough. And it makes it one of those things that makes it difficult for teams to repeat.
It certainly is. And remember, the last team to repeat were the LA Galaxy in 2011, 2012. That's it. As much as I always say it, and I'll say it again, winning championships is so hard. Winning championships is so hard. You have to be a little lucky. You have to put yourself in the right spot, and you have to capitalize when you're there, right? All that stuff. Trying to repeat is like 7 times harder than just doing it the first time, right? Everything is going against you. Everybody's expecting you to be good now. Everybody's expecting you to be this MLS Cup competitive team. And then you not only have to do that, but you have to go out and show everybody that, last year wasn't a fluke and that you have to get kind of as lucky as you did the year before. There's so much pressure that sort of slams down on everybody whenever you start talking about, trying to repeat and do all those things. But that's where we're at. The LA Galaxy getting ready to come back into preseason camp, get that going, and then off to Coachella, as Tom had said. So this is going to be, we are rapidly approaching season time, and it feels like the season hasn't ended yet, Kevin. I remember doing this in 2011. I remember doing it in 2012. I remember doing it after 2014. It feels like it's just one continuous thing, but the problem is that things are really going to change for the LA Galaxy. Yes, there's a core there. Yes, you're going to get most of the guys back, but there's decisions to be made, players to be signed, and all that has to happen here pretty rapidly before the LA Galaxy will, host San Diego, and according to Tom, raising a banner that day as well.
I'm not ready for the season to start. I'm sorry. This is too fast. This is too quick.
I understand. I feel the same way. So this is certainly one of those times where you're like, a couple more weeks. By the way, the season's not starting yet. We're not there yet, but it is coming. You can feel it. And so hope springs eternal. It's kind of one of those things, but it also feels like you don't really want to let go of the of what you had from last year. So it'll be interesting.
So we
to
have
see
no
as we turn the page.
news on Yoshida, no news on Zavaleta at this point.
No. No news on Brady Scott, who was another one that possibly they were looking at bringing back. Yeah, I mean, where the Galaxy sit right now, it's just surprisingly, though, is that they're at 23 players on the roster. There was news that Gino Vivi had re-signed, and Alex Ruiz had this, but basically not re-signed, but his loan would be extended another 6 months to Saprissa in Costa Rica, which I don't think is a surprise for anybody. So it looks like, at least for the next 6 months, Gino Vivi will stay with Saprissa. Made 19 appearances for them so far during his loan spell, so he'll be staying with them for another 6 months. That's at least a little bit of roster information there. But again, what is this team going to look like? We kind of don't know yet. We think we have some ideas. We think we see some players coming in, but we don't know. There's not a lot of information there. But I do expect in this week and the next week that we're going to start to see that come together. So we'll see how all that goes here in the very near future. Anything else that you wanted to get to, Kevin, before we get on out of here? Because there's no point in us, when you and I talked about this beforehand, we're not going to let everybody sit here and act like there's all this stuff that needs to be done, that needs to be happened. The big deal is that the supply drive and everything that's going on, again, happens tomorrow, so Tuesday, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Dignity Hill Sports Park. Yeah.
And I mean, Tom talked about it, and we put it up, and you and I tweeted it out on social media last week when they first announced it. In soccer, it's so different, and I know this because I've come from other sports. And soccer is so different. The Galaxy is not really a team. People might think of it as a team from the outside. It's a club. It's a social club. It's sort of, you identify with the Galaxy by, that's what you are. You're part of the club, and there are people in our club or in the club right now that are hurting and need help. And it's time for the club that's what clubs do. Clubs come together and they help one another out. And that's what the Galaxy is doing with this drive. And, it needs to be supported. I'm not at all surprised that John McCarthy was the guy that went across the street to the fire station, even though he's got a little baby at home. 100%. Totally in character.
100%.
And it was nice to see the Galaxy pay attention. That fire station, I completely forgot it was there, but I see it all the time.
All the time.
And I know it's there, and I just completely forgot that. Yeah, what an obvious thing for them to do. But yeah, I mean, the club is hurting. People in the club are hurting right now. People have lost their homes, and they're going to be hurting for a while. And it was nice to see the Galaxy immediately. There wasn't a whole lot of lag time. It pretty much, the fire started and the Galaxy were alerting us to what they were about to do, and other clubs too. It's just not the Galaxy. All the teams in Southern California, Angel City, LAFC, the Ducks, the Angels, everyone sort of jumped on this.
100%. Bam Dad says, you still haven't discussed the new kit. I have seen it. I mean, we saw the leak that popped out, and we saw that there was a store locally that had them out, and then they disappeared and did a whole bunch of things. I am still waiting for the official release on this one. I am up in the air on the purple or the sunset that is sort of coming together here. I'm sure I will like it in person. I usually like most things, so it won't be a surprise. But I want to see, because I think that so far what we've seen has lacked detail, and I think that the detail is usually the part that really makes or breaks some of these things. So we will see how it goes and everything.
By the way, speaking of Coachella, remember when we did our live broadcast from Coachella?
Yes, I remember.
Was it Herb that gave us the Funko Pops? Remember these?
Executive producer Herb. Yep.
Yeah, there's my Funko. I want Herb to know that, as I mentioned earlier, my wife and I have packed our car up, and we've got all our important papers and passports and all that, and hope to God we don't need to actually do this, but just in case, we got everything together. And my wife came into my office, and you see all the things I have back here. And my wife said, 2 things you're taking from this office.
Right.
You're taking the Funko Pop,
right,
and you're taking the Hello Kitty bobblehead.
There you go. Okay, good.
This is going back in the pile after the show.
Good. All right. Well, I think that will about do it for tonight. We want everybody to stay safe again, as we sort of signed off on Monday and Thursday, or on Thursday night for sure, when Eric and I. But be kind to each other, help each other out. This is the time when it's good to know your neighbors, and good to help them out when you can. So check in on each other. If you guys need anything from Kevin or myself, you guys know how to reach out to us on social media or anything like that. If you need help, let us know. We will do our best to elevate and announce and use our microphones for good. Kevin and I were talking. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've talked to a lot of fire victims, which is not a great thing to do, but I have talked to a lot of them in the last week, and a lot of them just want to talk. They just want to tell their story. I heard it again today. And They don't want anything from you. They just want you to hear. They just need to process it, and they need to tell you their story. If you run into someone like that, please sit down, buy them a coffee, and listen, because it means a lot to them.
It does, and Kevin and I were sort of talking a little bit about today that we sometimes we understand that you invite us into your house or your car or everything on a bi-weekly basis, right? We get to come into your house, we get to ride in your car with you, wherever you're doing, and that's a heavy responsibility for us sometimes to sort of shoulder and do that stuff, but it's also a good thing, and so we're glad that you are part of our family, and we're glad that you're part of that you are part of our family, and so stay safe. And again, help each other out, and I think we'll be able to get through this. But like you said, if you need us, you know where to find us, and we'll certainly be there. We'll have more announcements in another show on Thursday as we get a little bit closer, and I do expect that eventually here in the coming week or so, we should start to see some announcements land for the LA Galaxy, and things start to head towards Coachella and preseason and all that fun stuff. So that's what we got today. Anything else, Kevin? You good?
That's it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. If you're looking for Mr. Kevin Baxter on Blue Sky or any of those places, it's at kbaxter11. That's where you'll find him. LATimes.com for all of his writing, and please check out all of his stories, LATimes.com. And certainly appreciate Kevin sharing his experiences today in the Palisades and all that stuff. All right. If you're looking for me on Twitter, X, any of those places, is at Galaxy Podcast. Cornerofthegalaxy.com is where you can find it, of course, and head on over there on YouTube, on Spotify, on Soundcloud, Apple iTunes, all those places where you can find our podcast. Go share it, like it, and do it. We'll be back on Thursday night to get you some more LA Galaxy news and update you on anything else that we have in the quiver there. All right, for Mr. Kevin, the Panda Baxter, I'm Josh Pat Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Be safe, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.